This is episode 224 of Come On You Reds, the Toronto FC podcast, and what a crazy week it has been. Gareth Wheeler alongside T-Dog himself, Terry Dunfield. It can't be true that people call you T-Dog. Harf, harf.
I like T-Dog. We got to make that stick.
Okay, you can't make your own call for what your nickname's going to be, but I think there could be a little bit of something that we can work with there. That's what the Canada guys call you, T-Dog?
Yeah, sometimes when I'm in the good books, and then when it's not going well, it's like, Dunfield, get that done. By the way, can you do my bark again that you just did? That's an old bark.
I know. You have a little bit of a cough. You might need to see a vet sometime soon. I prefer
not 40 yet.
You're getting there, buddy. Then you'll be T-pain, as in back pain, leg pain. Look, I'm not sure about that. Trust me, I am there. Look, it's been an eventful week and plenty to walk through. We'll get into the 7-1, a coaching change at Toronto FC, an unexpected victory that maybe was a little bit more predictable than you would have thought. And where does the team go from here? Let's start with the most recent. We're recording this podcast on Thursday morning, Wednesday night.
Do we have to get into the 7-1?
Well, I think that directly affects what happened after. So I think that we at the very least need to touch about it. We don't need to share all the gruesome details, experience that all over again. But what it ended up at the end of the week is some pretty positive vibes, Terry. If you name the one place where historically you think, man, it's tough for Toronto FC to get points there, it's Gillette Stadium. It's Foxborough. And not only that, you're missing Larea and Osorio. They're out on Canada duty. Zavaleta suspended. You're reeling after a loss. There's a coaching change made. There's a lightning storm as well that delays proceedings. And all of a sudden, somehow, some way, Toronto FC come away with the full 3 points and a statement 3-2 victory. How are you feeling? Did you see that coming?
No, I'll be honest. Add in 3 days turnover as well. One of the days is a recovery. The Monday, you can't do a whole bunch. And then the Tuesday, you're priming for Wednesday night. And I think you nailed it. On the MLS circuit, when the schedule comes out, you look for, Seattle away is fun. I love going to KC. The one place you don't want to go is New England away. And our results of late have been a little bit better there, but it's just a horrible place to go. They're top of the league. And they're a really difficult team to beat. And like you said, we were up against it.
Yet this team showed some resolve. I don't think it's any coincidence that a top performance comes when you finally have your two designated players in the lineup together in Pozuelo and Soteldo. Oftentimes, Terry, and you've been a part of this. I think you were a part of this with TFC too. Sometimes there's that little bit of a coaching change bump where the players, Bill Manning, Ollie Curtis were clear. The players are going to have to help the club out of this difficult time. A lot of it's going to come down to them. And guess what? This experienced group of professional players who have answered the bell so many times, they did that again. They stepped up and came away with the 3-2 victory.
Yeah. And it wasn't just a victory too, Wheels. The performance was outstanding. The first 10 minutes, it was like there was a weight off our shoulder. I thought there was clarity what the players were trying to do in possession and also defensively. I thought we were on the same page. And the first couple actions were very positive, and it kind of snowballed from there. And we started to build some momentum, which led to goals.
Javier Perez was behind the bench, standing in on Wednesday night. I know it's easy to give him all the credit, but he absolutely deserves some, getting the team prepared as best as he could, despite the change in a very short period of time. But I'll get back to this. And it seems like every week over recent times, we've been harping on this on the broadcast, and people are like, Dunfield, Wheeler, stop making excuses. How many times has TFC just sunk themselves by giving away a cheap early goal? It was like Groundhog Day, Bill Murray. You're just waking up. It was the same story. Slow start, you get behind the goal, you start chasing the game, and it leads to disaster. This time it was New England. It was like New England turned into Toronto FC. They gave away that goal the 9th minute. Jefferson Soteldo was first gifted to him as Brad Knighton didn't know if he was going to take the ball, didn't know what he was going to do, didn't know if he could pick it up because the ball was like right on top of the 18-yard box. He probably should have just come out, put a boot through the ball and cleared it. He did not. And finally, I mean, if Toronto FC had any luck this season, it would be no luck at all. Finally, they, with a stroke of luck, a stroke of fortune, they went on to take that early lead.
Yeah, I thought it was actually a pretty good action, and it was what TFC were playing for a little bit. I thought Endo did really well to hold the ball up and help the team progress. And New England's back line, 3 of the 4 were very aggressive, and they love to step forward into that kind of space between the lines. And Endo drew them in, found Auro facing forward, and there was some space in behind the back line. And I thought TFC were playing for that after unbalancing the back line on that wet turf. As you said, it held up, and Brad Knighton, he's not played for quite a while right now. Right. There's indecision there. And Soteldo, we were used to seeing right out on the touchline all game. Since he's been here. He makes a really nice outside to in run. It sits nice for him, and it's in the back of the net. And kind of looking at Bruce Arena's body language, he was like Chris Armas. You just see him like sink on the side, and conceding that early with TFC having some momentum, it was like a shoe was on the other foot.
Right, absolutely. And TFC will take it. Soteldo's first goal with Toronto FC as well. He looked so good last night, Terry. He was dynamic, the shifty nature, his ability to turn on the ball. He was saying to Brendan, bye, in sync style, like all night long. I can imagine just when he gets up to full speed, what a pain in the you-know-what he's going to be to try to contain. Because he has that rare ability, and you don't see it that often in this league, but a player be able to create that little bit more space for themselves. And he did it with regularity. He did it with purpose. I thought he was fantastic over the course of the game.
Oh, he's a player, man. And by the way, Bai will be playing in the top 5 league in Europe very soon. He's a good fullback. And
bye to MLS.
And then it was bye to the next player when he was double teamed. See you later again. Did you see the little back heel Cruyff pass just after halftime? He's going to be so entertaining to watch at BMO. And I think Soteldo, he looked free. He looked like he wasn't carrying an injury. He's so creative. He beat his player a different way each time. There's a ton of tools in his locker. He's got a great change of pace. He's low center of gravity, allows him to kind of go either way. If say he doesn't win his duel and get past the player, it doesn't bother him whatsoever. He's going to get after it again and keep bringing it. He's starting to build a little relationship with Pozuelo. He's looking like a top signing.
That connection, Pozuelo, Soteldo, it's going to be something to watch. I read some comments of people saying, well, why didn't he play earlier? Wasn't he fit? The answer is no. I think the team and whether it was the previous head coach or whatever was going on, they were being careful with Soteldo because you didn't want this injury to linger. And now you're looking at it, 23 games as of last night, 22 games remaining. It's about the marathon, not the sprint. So it's just something to keep in mind. Because he performed last night, it's because he's been given the platform and has been able to get to this level of fitness to go on to perform. He was involved in the second goal as well from a deeper lying position. He found Pozuelo in the middle, played between the lines, and Pozuelo, a beautiful pass, a perfectly hit pass to Kamar Lawrence in the 15th minute. Knighton was nailed to his line. He didn't know whether to come out or not. The center back didn't know whether to come over to help or stay on Io Akinola. And Kamar Lawrence, that's the Lawrence that we saw playing for the Red Bulls. It seemed like every time against Toronto FC. He was getting forward. He just unleashed this absolute rocket. And it was his first goal since August 4th of 2019 in MLS. Guess what? In a 2-0 victory over Toronto FC, he scored that goal. So he beats Knighton near post 15 minutes in. Again, this is the reverse Toronto FC story from 2021. 15 minutes in, TFC are up 2 goals.
And I'd say, Wheels, I don't know what you thought what went through my head when Lawrence unleashed that rocket. And I think he was looking to pass him and there was just nothing on. It was like he took out all the aggression of the difficult start to the year.
Yeah.
And there you go. And I got to give a shout to Perez and the technical staff, because again, it was similar to the first goal in that TFC drew by out of his slot. He stepped forward. Then the right-sided center back Farrell comes into Pozuelo, which creates again that space in behind. Lawrence plays a 1-2, gets in behind, and as you said, that was a world-class pass. There's maybe 3 players in the league that'll find a reverse pass like Pozuelo did. And because Farrell and Bayer are drawn out, you've got the whole side of the pitch now. There's if the other center back comes over, it's a pass, and we put New England in a really difficult spot. And I don't think that was random. I think that was something that was drawn up in the game plan.
Right. And TFC were coming in ways. They were buzzing, Terry. Like, this is the energy that was lacking over the last 2 games prior. Like, really, the commitment to get forward, the work rate, the organization, the focus, everything was meticulous, right? And on point for the first 25, 30 minutes of this game. It was just sensational to watch. And I think a lot of fans out there were saying, where was this TFC team? Right. It's a natural reaction to have as well. But I'll repeat, Pozuelo and Soteldo on the field at the same time from the start. It's a difference maker. And that's the first time we've seen it all season.
For sure. Well, my big indicator was some of the one-touch combination play where TFC got out of tight spaces and maybe got the ball to the weak side. And some of the football was excellent. And as a player, when you're out there, you just start to grow in confidence. And all of a sudden, we were putting together 20 pass sequences and then penetrating at the right time. It was fun to watch.
24th minute, might as well make it 3 in the best of the bunch. Soteldo working down that left-hand side, stop, go, comes to the left-hand side. It's Tsubasa Endo with the bendo into the corner, Terry. I've seen Endo do that before. Generally, his goals in Major League Soccer have been a little bit gritty, right place, right time, comes through a lot of work. That shot from distance was something that we saw with TFC2 on a regular basis, just these sensational hits from distance. That was his 10th Toronto FC goal and his first in the calendar year. And that is so well hit. And Endo just looked like a proper fit all night. And if you're going to play this 4-2-3-1 formation, lesson learned, make sure that a natural winger with the legs and just that sort of skill set to play that position going forward, it's so important. And that's why Tsubasa Endo started in an MLS Cup final for Toronto FC, because he can play that position and he can fit within the team concept. But nothing ordinary about that goal, just a wonderful strike by Endo.
Yeah, I'll piggyback that point about Lawrence and Auro getting forward. And I thought Auro's overlap helped create a little bit of space for Endo. And in my notes here, I'm not surprised. That's Endo being Endo. And he cuts inside on his left Duke. That's just pure technique to feel that into the top corner. And if you watch him in training, 8 times out of 10, he'll nestle that into the top corner, both feet, on the back of some really good work from Soteldo, just toying with New England.
By the way, this is maybe a little bit behind the scenes, but the broadcast feed that is picked up on TSN, it's essentially from the New England Revolution home feed. So I thought it was rich. After every time TFC scored, it just cuts to Bruce Arena, just looking so like, what is happening here? Just every time TFC scored, what's Bruce Arena? What's on his mind? It's just like crickets. Hilarious. It was beautiful director work right there. Beautiful. And Bruce was not a happy man. I think when post-match he was asked about Brad Knighton's play, he was like, ordinary. Just like when you give him goals like that, it's just like, well, when he has Matt Turner, who's going off to the Gold Cup, arguably the best goalkeeper in MLS right now. There's a big gap there. Yeah, I think that was a direct quote, that his play was ordinary and you can't give up goals like that. So, hey, look, the Revs were thunderstruck through that first 25 minutes. But then they punch back like every really good team does. And you see the quality through Hill, through Bo, through Books. I mean, this is an excellent team, Terry. And they had their chances. They went up the woodwork twice in the first half. Right? Like the heads weren't going down in those previous games that Toronto FC's conceded. It's like one thing would lead to another. They almost seem like isolated incidents. Is that the best way of putting it? I don't know if you have a better way of putting it, but it seemed like the chances, although they were coming, they were contained in a way.
Exactly. I've got written down there weren't any free looks, and if New England were going to score, it was going to be difficult. I think Alex Bono makes a great save on the one off the header off Buksa that I think he just gets a fingertip on it to put it onto the bar. Bo is his strike. I don't think anybody in the league strikes a ball like he does with such little backlift and the movement, the one that goes off the outside of the post. But again, it was going to be difficult to beat Bono from there. Heel he's just a quality player. And I can see why he was MLS MVP of the month. And he's just a very good footballer. And I'd say structure wise, there wasn't a whole bunch of space, and it was quite clear what TFC were trying to do. They dropped into a low block. Io stayed high. He was your outlet. He did really, really well, as Steve said, and Caldwell in the commentary, holding that ball up and also running in behind and being a threat. That was important. Pozuelo just kind of dropped in between Markey and Michael Bradley and almost provided a little bit of a screen, which gave us some density in the middle of the field, which forced New England to go wide. But with Pozuelo there, what it allowed Michael and Markey to do, just watching from, it's sometimes hard with the TV angle. It's better if you've got a tactical view up top to really see what's going on. But it allowed Michael and Markey to fan out wide and protect the sort of half space in behind Celtaldo and Endo. And it was difficult for New England to break us down. Maybe once or twice they got through us, but often it led to kind of deep crosses that we could deal with.
I'm not trying to go all dark here or all negative, but this is going to be an issue for Perez or whoever that interim coach may be, is making sure there is enough protection at times for the back six. It requires a ton of work for Bradley and Delgado. I agree with you. Pozuelo playing that position that way, it provides TFC an outlet that they really haven't had to get out of trouble, to counter, to get out on the break. But you're losing a little bit of steel with Pozuelo and Soteldo, both in roles where you expect them to put in a defensive shift. I mean, that's not what either player is known for. Even last night, Terry, 21 shots for New England and 38 crosses, incredibly, for the Revolution. So whatever the manager, the head coach for the rest of this season, that's going to be top of their list to make sure that there's enough cover there defensively, because TFC are still shipping far too many goals for their liking.
I can see what you're saying. I don't want to dwell on this either, but the couple times Celtaldo or Pozuelo didn't get back into the shape, that's when maybe space was found. But we're also, as you said, Wheels, very dangerous from that structure, because we've got some very good footballers that when we do win it, we're also connected, that we can break through that initial counter press. And now you've got Celtaldo, Endo, Io in behind, that we become a real threat. And it's also pretty economic too. Once you're kind of sat in that deep block, you're also conserving energy. I think it suits Omar Gonzalez. You're giving him a little bit of protection as well in his game. So I actually quite liked it. And I think it's probably, and this was a big talking point with Chris Armas, a better fit, and it's still early days and it's a small sample size, for the profile of our players.
Right. It might be something that we discuss on a future podcast. It's really interesting to me, the way that the game is going in terms of how you utilize players. I mean, that's why Bruno Fernandes wasn't used by Portugal in some of those critical starts at the Euros. Yet he works in that Pozuelo position for Manchester United. teams like Real Madrid, have gone away from an Isco playing that attacking midfielder, that number 10 role, and teams are now kind of going more box to box players that are more just all out number 8s, like Liverpool, right? Like it's just really interesting, and the way that it affects your team and the way that you set out and what you can do to find balance in your team. So look,
last piece on that, Bill, the problem with that is what we saw in the second half is
exactly
if there's no, you can invite the kitchen sink coming your way, and it's just wave after wave of attack if you're not getting out. But it worked. So.
But I kind of know what I'm talking about there, right? Like, you're not dismissing that completely.
No, for sure. That's kind of, I would say, the modern trend right now. And as we're seeing teams like Liverpool, like Leipzig, like Chelsea, getting after it in midfield.
Sure. I mean, we're going to see a Euro final where England don't play with that kind of player, but Italy kind of does with the Verratti. So it just depends on your personnel and the shape of your team and how you play. So it's going to be really interesting to track with Toronto FC moving forward, because those two players, Soteldo and Pozuelo, there is a natural connection, and they are going to be a threat to any team that they play over the next coming months. The second half, you're right, different story. Silly foul given up by Marky Delgado. Did he punch the guy in the face? Like, I thought Delgado had a really good game, but I don't think he did it on purpose. He extended the arm. Boom. It's kind of like me and you in the golf cart together. I'm like, boom. Oh, sorry, Dunfield.
Come on, Wheels, get the beers in. No,
exactly. And then Carlos Hill, like, great finish, man. Woof.
Yeah, I thought the first couple replays, there wasn't much in it. And then you see the replay from behind the goal. Yeah, then there's a little bit of a forearm cross check there, but just kind of looking at this, I guess, setup, and by no means am I a specialist, and the angle on the camera wasn't great, and it's a tricky one because you have Bo on top of it as well. You have two real threats on top of the ball, which you don't normally have, which probably keeps Alex guessing a little bit, and that's maybe why he trusted his wall a little bit, but it looked like Heel had a lot of room to hit. Like, there was a lot of space. Like, there was a big, juicy target for him to go to. And I think why Alex doesn't maybe get a jump on it is he has to respect that maybe Bo whips at his side.
Was that also the where in the field that was? I mean, like, that's probably the exact spot that Hill would want the ball in a position like that, right? Like, that's the number one spot. Buxa got a goal. I thought that Luke Singh played very well in the night, but that's an experienced striker just rolling off the back of the center back, just finding that little pocket of space and a good headed finish. And you're like, oh God, here we go. Come on, just hold on. That goal in the 78th minute. And then it's a grandstand finish. The Revs are throwing the kitchen sink at Toronto FC, 90+5. The save of the season, and I'm so happy for him because Alex Bono's heard some of the commentary that's being thrown out there. I think a lot of it's been harsh because I think he's been left hung out to dry more times than not. But what a save on Buxa. 5 minutes into stoppage time, a big right foot that preserves the victory and gives TFC the full 3 points. Go on, Alex. It was a great save, wasn't it? Honestly.
It's one of his strengths. He does it so well. To remember against Bradley Wright Phillips 2017 semifinal, he comes out and makes a huge save on him. Right. It was a nice moment for him. And just before that, I've got written down here: Singh, Omar, Dwyer, Pozuelo, and then the Bono save, all with big clearances, protecting their goal. And I love the resolve that the team showed. There was some real grit laid on to get over the line. I think that moments like that bring a changing room together. And, as you said at the start of the pod, Wheel, it's been a difficult time. And sometimes when this happens and you're away from home, players kind of do their own thing a little bit, and I'm not saying that this is the case. We don't know up here in Toronto, but the changing room is sometimes a difficult place. But when you come through something together like that really is important for team spirit.
Honestly, Terry, the coaching change probably had something to do with that performance. The 7-1 loss.
Expect a reaction.
Expect a reaction. But I'll tell you this, and we're going to get into it just in a few moments. There's something to be said about feeling like you're crossing the finish line. And that's what I kind of feel like the attitude was within the group. The fact that they are coming home, that the players are in Toronto now. The fact that this, 16 months of unknown, of uncomfortable, of discontent, of frustration, that's coming to an end, and the players are coming back up to Toronto. The psychological lift, and we're on all these calls and we're in contact with the players. It has taken a psychological and emotional toll here. And when we say that, sometimes it's branded that we're making excuses. These are not excuses. This is real life, what these players have had to endure. And didn't you kind of feel like when that final whistle went last night, it was like, yes, the full 3 points, but also, yes, we get to go back home. Like there's something to be said about that, honestly.
It's like the last day of school, isn't it?
Yeah.
Summer.
Yep.
And
exactly.
I think all what we were doing, Wheels, is just relaying some of the messaging we're hearing from Florida. And I was talking to Jason Bent a couple days ago, now on LA Galaxy staff, former TFC assistant, about what it's actually like away from home. And last year, TFC posted up in Hartford, I believe, for 3 spells, up to 3 or 4 weeks each time. And he said it was brutal and it was awful. And they were winning. They were at the top of the league. And he said, when it's not going well, you're away from home in Florida for a long spell. It's horrible. It's tough. And I don't, until you actually live it, I don't think you realize how bad it is, because there's always a part of you that says, oh, you're in Florida, there's a pool, you're in the sun, you're playing soccer, like this is great. Well, that's not the case.
Yeah. That was one of the most important happenings of the week, was that announcement that Toronto FC are coming back. Anything else from the game before we move on, Terry? Plenty more to cover. I wanted to give Luke Singh a shout out, stepping up in a difficult spot. Helping snap that losing streak, the defensive commitment, the leadership of Michael Bradley. I thought that Endo was excellent. I thought that Ayo Akinola would be right in the running for man of the match as well. He was outstanding, just limping off there. Selfishly, as a Canada fan, with Canada games coming up, I'm like, oh no, please just be a cramp. And my fingers are crossed on that.
No, I agree with you. I thought there was many very good individual performances. And that was on the back of the team doing well collectively. I thought there was clarity, what they were trying to do in attack, and also defensively laid on just absolute grit to get over the line. And what a cool customer. I don't really know Perez, but he was in the zone last night. No reaction when we scored, laid on when the kitchen sink's coming. He's chilled with his notebook on the side. He's seen it before. So it's, it was kind of, that was my takeaway on Perez under pressure. Nothing really changes, and he trusts in what he set out the team to
do. Under pressure. Well done to the entire group, coming away with that 3-2 victory.
I want to see what's in his book, though. I want to get my pause on that.
Well, he's very much an intellectual. He spent time at Real Madrid working with with youth players, much like you're doing with Toronto FC right now. 4 years with New York City FC. Seems like a very cerebral. He's kind of a little bit like kind of the exact opposite of Chris Armas in a way, because Armas is raw. Like he made me want to run through a wall. But Perez seems like even keel, steady, and smooth. And during turbulent times, that's perhaps what you need, right? Just a different kind of voice like that.
Yeah, I think so. I'd say again, I don't know, just looking at his CV, PhD in sports science, pro license, very much, as you said, an academic. He also has tons of real life experience with, as you said, Wheels with New York City FC, Patrick Vieira, Torrent as well. You're going to learn a ton from these guys. So I think he definitely didn't do himself any harm if this is right. The interim tag is pointing out the obvious is something he'd like until the end of the season?
Well, yes, and the entire coaching staff would, but that remains to be seen as the interim tag, the interim spot for this team, very much available as Chris Armas was relieved of his duties on Sunday after the 7-1 loss. Over recent podcasts, Terry, we saw incremental gains despite losing tight losses. The back-to-back losses, FC Cincinnati wasn't good. And a disaster, a 7-1. I kind of joked with you off air. Only Ralph Hasenhüttl of Southampton gets away with losses like that and ends up keeping his job. But all the years that I've been covering the team, that was one of my most disappointing watches. And I've been here since day number one. It's a record-setting loss for the club. The most goals that they ever conceded in a game. And it wasn't just that they lost, it was how they lost. And that seemed to be the final straw. Like, it seemed to me that the club wanted to see how this played out. Let's get the club back home, give Armas a real chance to have games playing at BMO Field, even the playing field to a certain degree. But that 7-1 loss was just a step too far. That was my take on all of it. How about you?
Yeah, I agree. I would say circumstances were ridiculous. And I think probably when Chris Armas took the reins, he probably didn't understand the complexity of what he was getting himself into until he was actually living it, if that makes sense. And I think stuff just kept popping up, and we were reacting to a ton of stuff as well. We don't need to rehash everything. I agree with you. I don't think the bar was top of the East for Chris Armas to continue with his role through the summer. I think the bar wasn't that high, but on a 7-1, bottom of the league, Bruce Arena said it last night. There's no way TFC should be where they are in the league with a squad like that. So I think the change, it's difficult because we're living it. And but if you look at it from an outside perspective or a different lens, I think you're without any emotion, you have to say, maybe a change is best right now. And the only thing that if I'm Chris Armas, I thought we were after the break, I thought we were excellent against Orlando. I'm not going to change that opinion. I thought we were very good against Nashville until Pozuelo came off at halftime. I'm surprised we went to a back three and he just changed the direction tactically where we were going. And I thought the back three, it was just when things aren't going well, I'd say simplify things and trying to take on something else just kind of led to more trouble.
I know there's a lot of frustration out there, and rightfully so. I do come away feeling sympathetic for Chris, to be honest with you, from the get-go. COVID, injuries, extensive travel, then without key players again, and then you're still struggling. You're still away from home. You're playing against your opponents in full-packed stadiums. You're still playing in Orlando. Like, it was just a series of events that all piled up against him. And then he started struggling. It seemed like everyone was questioning one another and no one was kind of sure about what was going on. So I honestly, on a human level, I'm very sympathetic to him and the position that he found himself in. And same thing with Ollie and Bill. I mean, they clearly, this wasn't a move that they foresaw. It wasn't a move that they wanted to make. But again, I just don't think that they had any choice, that this was the only way to proceed going forward. My understanding is that they're going to go on with an interim, whether that's Javier or someone else for the rest of the season. Then a longer-term head coach will then come in at some point. What I don't want to see, and TFC have had interim head coaches before, Chris Cummins, Nick Dasso as well. What you just don't want to see, Terry, and this was my worry about whenever you get rid of a manager. You lived and played through that era of Toronto FC football, 8 managers in 8 years, right? You just don't want to be that club that goes on to recycle managers. That's why I give Bill and Ollie a lot of credit for trying to give Armas time to extend this, right? Because you just don't want to get into the business of like, he's gone, and your vision changes. Because maybe you can speak a little bit to this. when a head coach goes, a new one comes in and they have their own vision, and that will trickle down through recruitment to the academy and the overall vision of the club. So it's a slippery slope to go down once you remove a manager from his position.
Yeah, I think we're almost spoiled with Greg being here for 5, 6 years. And when a new manager comes in, it brings uncertainty a little bit. And like you said, Wheels, I there was no playbook for what Chris Armas has been through. And it's difficult to find that winning edge against the rest of the league with all the circumstances that were thrown his way. I think that it's important that we kind of refine our identity or something a little bit closer to what Greg Vanney had built, and that we build upon that. And speaking from maybe the academy side, Anthony Capitoso, our academy director, did a really good job to ensure, that what we've built here, and you're starting to see the players come through, that doesn't change, and that we carry on how we have been. And it's a little bit like maybe Mourinho coming in at Tottenham, wasn't maybe a perfect fit for the idea at Tottenham, and eventually, it plays out like it did. And I think it's important that we have a TFC way now, and that we continue, and you can just move that dial a little bit on various principles that we stick with that. I think that whoever our interim manager is now has experience, if possible, getting out of difficult situation, because I'm sure the objective is still to make a run and get into the playoffs.
But is Big Sam available? Sam Allardyce?
Funny how everyone's head to that. But also, I think MLS, I'm going to throw a cliche here, is its own beast. And it's important that you understand the inner workings of the league. And with not a whole bunch of time, probably know our squad as well.
Yeah, great points there, Terry. Did anything stand out to you from what you heard from Ali and Bill in their press conference on Sunday? Is there anything in particular? I have one thing I want to add.
Go ahead.
It was about just giving players ownership now, and now it's kind of on them. I think step one, Wednesday night, was a good step in the right direction, but we're going to see who fits and who is going to take accountability to turn this around, and who might be on the outside looking in. And I know that sounds harsh, but that's professional sports for you, especially in a salary cap league. It's very difficult to keep core groups of players together. And when you look at the core group of this Toronto SC team, man, Terry, like a lot of these guys have been here 5-6 years, which is great because familiar faces, there's consistency in the group, there's likable personalities, relatable to the fans, but it becomes near impossible to keep those core groups together and continue to have that kind of success year in, year out. There might have to be some change to the squad. And that's what it sounded like as well, that the front office is saying, okay, coaching change. Okay, that's the first step. Let's see now what the players are going to bring to the table. And if you're in, you're in. And if you happen to be on the outside looking in, then that's going to have to be the way that it goes. I think it's going to be a really telling period for the players in this club to step up and potentially play their part as well.
Good points. I'd say, like with Chris Armas, because of the circumstances, it's really difficult to assess and evaluate performance with just such a turbulent start to the year. And I think when you look at our guys, once they have a run of 10 games now, I think then you can get a better feel. And I think that, as Billy and Ali said, this is a very good squad. The squad, was points away from winning the Supporters' Shield last year, tons of trophies. So by no means do I think it's the end of this generation. But I think, like Seattle and like what TFC are trying to do, I think you can tweak the squad, and it's not an overhaul. I think expectations here are extremely high, which also brings a little bit of pressure. And whenever there's a successful manager at a club, and you know this very well, I'm telling you stuff that it's always difficult to follow. It was always going to be hard, whoever came in after Greg.
And let alone not playing one game at home. So we wish Chris and his family absolutely the best of luck. We had limited interaction with him, whether it be text message, calls. We had honestly that great interview after the victory over Club Leon, where
presses like that.
he had me energized. He's the only person on this planet that drinks more coffee than me. And look, we will see him in Major League Soccer again. Whether it's as an assistant coach or whatever, like he's part of the fabric of this league. And, we wish him the best for whatever comes next in his career. It was kind of funny over the course of that conference call, like Bill Manning just slid in the news. Yeah, we're returning home. And people are like, what? Returning home. Toronto FC back in the province of Ontario, going to be training at the training grounds with hopes, fingers crossed, July 17th, BMO Field, Toronto FC back on home turf for the first time since last summer. And my other hand, I have my fingers crossed as well that there'll be actual fans in the stands, and then my toes are crossed to win the lottery this week. But no, seriously, but 2 of the 3 are actually reasonable. I see 60,000 people at Wembley Stadium jumping up and down after an England victory. I'm like, hold on. We still haven't had a game here at BMO Field. Like something doesn't seem right. There's fans in an arena in Montreal for Stanley Cup finals. It's like, what's going on here? So it looks like we're close. Let's not jinx it, but man, what a shot in the arm. And look, the victory was nice, but that could be the real turning point of Toronto's season. Yeah, 3 points, Bono save, but playing home games at BMO Field, I don't think it can be, said loud enough how much this matters to the group.
Well, I liked your pun in there too. A shot in the arm. Well played.
2 shots. Nothing to add there?
No, I think you covered it, man. We had just
man, that was hilarious. Just the awkward look. Okay, like, are you done, Wheeler? Are you done? Are you done?
Covered everything. I'm where to jump in.
Well, and look, TFC on 8 points. They have a long way to go to climb the table here. But with the benefit of home games, with a healthy team, which it looks like things are moving in the right direction, at the very least, Pozuelo and Soteldo, 22 games is a lot of games, Terry. Michael Bradley broke it down like it's 66 points up for grabs. You're going to go on and have to, almost essentially pick up, 2 points a game. Like it's go time, right? There's very little room for error.
And that's kind of motivating in itself, isn't it? Of can we pull this off? Can we pull this miracle off? And, like the first 10 minutes of the game, if TFC start to build some momentum, it's very doable. It's very different to the squad we had in 2012 or 2011, where we just weren't at the level of this group. Where if TFC find a way, I don't want to play this TFC side for sure. And the messaging was pretty low key, and there's humility to it, even after the terrific result and performance last night. That it's only one game, and we have to build on that.
With the window open, with the team coming home, I mean, I know that it hasn't been great thus far this season. That might be putting it mildly, but there's plenty of reason to get excited. Fans in the stands at BMO will be absolutely massive. Potential moves with the squad.
We need to resolve
improvements to be had.
We need to resolve the Josie situation ASAP.
Right. That's got to be priority right now. But the July window is open, right? Like now we're in the sweet spot. One domino has fallen. Others have to be fallen. It's not as if the club or the representation are standing static behind the scenes. So we expect news, whether it's coming back into the team or unfortunately leaving, that will seemingly be resolved in the coming weeks as well. Everything else, or coming days, I should say. Gold Cup coming up. Plenty to watch out for. Kamara Lawrence, Eric Zavaleta playing for El Salvador and Jamaica, and Richie Lorea, Ayo Akinola, health pending, and Jonathan Osorio for Canada as well.
And Haiti again.
Yeah. Hey, it's good for my research. It's done. And a rematch against the United States as we look ahead to the Gold Cup. Hopefully they can bring it home for the first time since 2000, and great preparation for World Cup qualifiers coming up this fall. The football doesn't stop. Before we let you go, prediction Sunday. I'm going to get two predictions from you. England, Italy, who goes on to win Euro? Terry, go.
Structure over style, England.
England, obviously. I love Chiellini and Bonucci. Good luck sticking with Harry Kane for 90 minutes as well. Brazil, Argentina, Copa America final. Does Lionel Messi finally do it?
You're up first.
No, they're playing in Brazil against Brazil. No chance. Messi still within touching distance. Tyrannosaurus Rex arms. Not long enough. Brazil's going to go on and win it.
I'll go with my heart on that one. I think the script is written Argentina.
You just had to be different than me on that pick. Good stuff, buddy. I feel like I'm like walking a couple inches taller today after that TFC victory as well. Good stuff. We'll do it all again next week, okay?
Sounds good.
He is Terry Dunfield. Thanks to our producer, Erica, as well. On behalf of everyone here at Toronto FC, I am Gareth Wheeler. And come on, England! And come on, you Reds.